Samantala, kahalagahan ng state visit ni Pangulong Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. sa Japan at ang benepisyo nito para sa mga Pilipino ating pag-uusapan kasama si Professor Froilan Calilong, Political Analyst and UST Department of Political Science Professor. Prof, magandang tanghali po. Welcome po sa Bagong Pilipinas ngayon.
Yes. Good afternoon at good afternoon po sa lahat ng ating mga taga-subaybay. Thank you po for having me again.
Prof, pakipaliwanag po, gaano po kahalaga itong state visit ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. sa Japan pagdating po sa pagpapalakas ng ugnayan ng dalawang bansa?
Well, very important because Japan has been traditionally an economic and geopolitical partner of the country for a very long time already. And mahalaga to, no, lalo na sa pagpapatibay ng ating government-to-government relations between the two countries. And of course, kaakibat nito syempre yung mga economic imperatives na maaari natin talagang makuha, especially now that the Philippines is being looked at dito sa Asia-Pacific region as one of the more important AI technological hubs. And I think Japan will be very much interested in this, being a technologically driven country. Marami tayo rin matututunan sa Japan, especially dito sa kanilang disaster response, disaster resiliency, and disaster risk mitigation mechanisms na syempre kakailanganin talaga natin dito sa ating bansa because we're a country that is typically visited by many calamities and typhoons throughout the year. No?
Prof, paano naman po makakatulong ang mas malapit na kooperasyon ng Pilipinas at Japan sa pagpasok ng mas maraming investments at paglikha ng trabaho para sa mga Pilipino?
Well, kasi Japan is one of the more, should I say, trusted countries in the whole of the world, you know? And they have one of the more resilient economies as well. And so when we try to forge economic ties with them, when we open globalization and integration ties with a country like Japan, it also sends a strong signal to other countries who may also be wanting to have investment schemes with us as well, no? Kasi kumbaga yung tiwala ng isang bansa kagaya halimbawa ng Japan is very important to send a strong message to the other countries as well, no? As to why they could also choose the Philippines as an investment destination hub. And you know, this is very important, especially in the case of trying to come up with more necessary jobs. That is very important, especially right now, for us to be able to cushion the effects of this ongoing crisis, the inflation, and of course, this will help solve the unemployment in the country as well.
Okay. Prof, may mga nabanggit po kayo like disaster response at economic imperatives. Well, kilala po ang Japan bilang isa sa mga malalaking development partners sa Pilipinas. From your perspective, Prof, saan po mga sektor posibleng mas lumakas pa ang kooperasyon ngayon?
Well, basically, no, since we are a consumer-driven economy, titignan natin dito sa mga areas o sa aspects ng consumer goods manufacturing, basically. Titignan din natin dito sa semiconductor mechanisms, no, or semiconductor production. Titignan din natin siguro dito sa area din ng agricultural self-sufficiency, no, because we can really learn a lot of thing or two from Japan, particularly in technology and skills transfer para sa agricultural resiliency. No, this I think is also very important. And then tingnan din natin yung mga people-to-people exchanges. No, I think this is something that we could also try to work on. Maybe have or foster more collaborative mechanisms, particularly doon sa pagbibigay ng mga scholarships, pagbibigay ng mga official development aids, pagbibigay ng mga grants para sa ating bansa, no? And I think the Japanese government has been very responsive and receptive naman to this challenges and to these opportunities that we have been, collaborating for a very long time already.
Prof, sa aspeto naman po ng regional security, gaano naman po kahalaga yung pakikipag-ugnayan ng Pilipinas sa Japan, lalo na sa mga issue sa West Philippine Sea at Indo-Pacific region?
Well, very, very important. In fact, we already have ongoing what do you call this agreements, no, and negotiated geopolitical deals with Japan. They've been going on for I think several years now, and siguro itong pagbisita na to will just strengthen that, no, will just solidify further whatever foundational mechanisms that are already in place, no. Ika nga, kinakailangan kasi natin ito because let's face it, medyo tensionado pa rin ang West Philippine Sea, no. Maaring hindi kasing tensionado before, pero we know for a given fact, no, na anytime, no, po pwede mag-escalate ang kaguluhan diyan. So kinakailangan talaga natin na meron tayong sasandigan, no, ng mga bansa maliban sa Estados Unidos, no, may mga makakatulong din tayo na ibang bansa, lalo na dito sa Asia Pacific. And Japan certainly is one of those countries who really would want to foster peace and collaborative initiatives dito sa West Philippine Sea para masiguro natin, no, na talaga magkakaroon ng mas maayos na pag-uugnayan ng mga bansa, lalong-lalo na nga dito medyo may mga kinakaharap pa rin tayong tensions dito sa West Philippine Sea.
Okay. Prof, pagdating po sa mga ordinaryo nating mga kababayan, gaya ng mga nasa laylayan o yung nasa vulnerable sector, sa tingin niyo po, paano po sila makikinabang dito sa patuloy na pagpapatibay ng relasyon ng Pilipinas at Japan?
Well, of course, we actually live right now in a highly globalized economy, and ito nga tinatawag natin ng mga market integration mechanisms na to, no, will be very, very important, especially in trying to build a more robust economy, trying to help solve the problem of unemployment. Because when you actually try to solve the problem of unemployment, when you gain more investments, that will definitely create a multiplier effect in the economy, no? Primarily because people will now have their what we call consumer disposable incomes. This will really pump prime further the economy and try to infuse the much needed stimulus, no, or the impetus for growth, no, and mobility in the economy. So mararamdaman definitely yan dahil nga mas marami tayong mga jobs na makikreate na siya naman makakatulong talaga sa atin para labanan nga itong umiiral na inflation at mataas na presyo ng mga bilihin. The only way by which we could combat this is by also focusing on developing and harnessing our employment imperatives. Kasi yun lang ang paraan para talaga kahit paano makasabay itong ating ekonomiya, no, sa takbo nga nitong crisis na to. So hopefully, no, makatulong talaga ito, no, para yung ating mga kababayan, lalo na mga nasa laylayan, mabigyan talaga ng pagkakataon na mapaayos naman ang kanilang buhay at makapag-navigate tayo ng mas maayos amidst this crisis.
Prof, marami po tayong mga OFW at trainees sa Japan. Sa tingin po ninyo, malaki po ba ang maitutulong or mas madadagdagan po ba ang mga opportunity para sa mga Pilipino dahil sa magandang ugnayan ng dalawang bansa?
Yeah, I totally agree with that, no? Dahil actually Japan is one of the biggest employers din, no? Dahil lalo na dito sa Asia ng mga Filipinos natin. Nasa education sila, some of them are also in the entertainment, some of them are in the manufacturing industry, no, and this is very, very important talaga na maganda yung ugnayan ng dalawang bansa para masiguro din natin na yung ating embahada, yung ating mga consuls doon, they're being our OFWs are being taken care of. Siyempre, nakikita ng ating mga OFWs na nandoon yung presensya ng ating Pangulo, malaking bagay ito sa kanila, no, so that their morale will be further boosted. At alam nila, no, na yung gobyerno is nakaagapay sa kanila.
Okay. Prof, sa inyo pong pananaw, may mga challenges po ba o may mga hamon na dapat bantayan ng ating bansa, ang Pilipinas, sa pagpapalalim ng relasyon nito sa Japan at iba pang malalaking bansa?
Marami po talaga kung hamon lamang, ano. Definitely we live in a very volatile geopolitical frontier at the moment. Marami pa ring mga threats globally. Threats of terrorism, threats of global disturbances, kagaya nga nitong mga conflicts na maaari talagang nandito pa rin sa atin. So I think it's really imperative na mapatatag itong mga bilateral transactions between countries. And Japan, certainly, it's one of those countries na talagang gugustuhin natin, no, na maka-establish ng mas maayos-ayos at saka mas friendly na or amity relationships, you know, and cooperation because of their strength, no, financial stability, and syempre yung kanilang prestige and the kind of reputation that they have established already throughout the world.
Okay. Well, Prof, speaking of reputation, sa tingin niyo po ba itong mga kinakaharap na issue sa Senado maaaring maka-apekto din sa relasyon ng Japan at Pilipinas in the long run?
Maaari po, no? Dahil syempre lahat naman, ano, pag sinabi natin kasing economy, kaya nga meron tayong subfield ng political science sa political economy, everything actually that is happening within the political sphere finds its impact or effect also in the economic dimensions of a country, you know. So definitely malaki yung maging epekto nito, and I think the longer na itong mga hidwaan at itong mga nangyayaring kaguluhan sa Senado ay naririto, no, mas magiging mahirap because let's face it, the Senate has actually entrusted with the power to actually legislate. And measures that will result in effective economic navigation, especially right now because we're in a crisis. May mga bills, may mga priority and urgent measures, no, na mga legislative measures na kinakailangan talagang maipasa, no. And syempre tinitignan din ito ng ibang mga bansa kagaya ng Japan, kagaya ng US and many other countries that if we are seeing a Senate that is emboldened too much with politics, that really takes away a lot of effort and a lot of energy from their main task, which is of course lawmaking, no, and legislation, especially ditong mga key governmental reforms, no, key governmental bills na kinakailangan natin. So again, it does not send a very good impression. It actually sends the idea that we are, you know, politically unstable, and syempre kapag may political instability, yung investor confidence will definitely be adversely affected as well.
Prof, nabanggit nyo nga po na posibleng maapektuhan ng investor confidence sa nangyayari pong kaganapan sa Senado. Paano nyo po nakikita naman na kung magkakaroon po ba ito ng epekto sa hinaharap ng Philippines and Japan relations sa mga susunod na taon? At ano po yung posibleng epekto nito sa mga susunod pa na henerasyon ng mga Pilipino?
Well, you know, the truth aspect is that all of these countries, you know, they're actually looking at the current trajectory and the current things that are happening in the Philippines. Because let's face it, whether other countries admit it or not, we are already an up and coming to be a major player in the Indo-Pacific, you know, region, in the Asia-Pacific economic and political dimension. So, lahat ng nangyayari sa atin, masusing binabantayan ng iba't ibang mga bansa. And the longer that this political crisis or this political conflict actually exists, the harder it will be for us, you know, as a country to actually be able to move forward. Let's face it, nasa highly conglomerated and highly integrated economic setup tayo ngayon because of globalization and market integration. And kung hindi natin talaga masasabayan yung galaw ng iba't ibang mga bansa dahil nalulunod tayo masyado sa mga usaping politika, mapag-iiwanan po talaga tayo, no? So I think it's really imperative for the government to really shape up as a whole, no? Magkaroon na tayo sana ng kaayusan bilang mga leader ng ating bayan, lalong-lalo na, no, na magkaroon ng reconciled areas, no, mutual respect at the very least, para naman maisulong natin yung ating bansa because in the long run, tapa po kayo, no, yung mga susunod na generation sa mga Pilipinos, sila rin po yung magmamana ng kung ano man na nangyayari at ginagawa natin ngayon.
Alright, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras, Professor Froilan Calilong, Political Analyst at UST Department of Political Science Professor.